South Africa, a nation born from the ashes of apartheid, crowned by hope and promises of a new dawn. In 1994, Nelson Mandela walked into the Union buildings carrying the weight of a fractured nation and the hopes of millions. The world watched as a rainbow nation was born, a country promised a blueprint for justice, equality, and prosperity. But today, 3 decades later, that blueprint lies in ruins. Roads crumble, schools fail, hospitals falter, power blackouts choke industry, and millions remain unemployed. The dreams sold to a hopeful nation have been broken. But how? Who broke this blueprint? And can it ever be fixed? This is South Africa Unveiled, exploring the stories shaping our nation.
Whether you are a colored, an Indian, a white man, or an African, let us all say, we are one country.
When democracy arrived in 1994, the government launched the Reconstruction and Development Program, the RDP, a bold social plan aimed at dismantling apartheid's legacy. The RDP promised houses, clean water, electricity, and education for all. It was a commitment to rebuild not just infrastructure, but lives. Within the first 5 years, nearly 2 million houses were built for the poor. Millions gained access to basic services. Mandela's government prioritized social upliftment, with public clinics and schools reaching previously neglected communities. The optimism was tangible. Voting lines stretched for kilometers. Celebrations erupted across townships. Yet, by 1996, the RDP was quietly replaced by Growth, Employment and Redistribution, or GEE, a market-friendly policy emphasizing fiscal austerity, privatization, and reduced government spending. The emphasis shifted from people to profits. The promises of the RDP faded under the weight of economic orthodoxy. The shift had consequences. Social spending slowed, inequality deepened, and basic services began to deteriorate. The blueprint for inclusive growth was shelved in favor of macroeconomic stability. But for whom?
Let's look at this story now. So, South Africa's grade 4 learners' comprehension skills have declined. The country coming last among 57 countries that were assessed for reading achievement in the Progress in International Reading Literacy study.
South Africa's schools were meant to be the bedrock of the new nation. A place where every child, black or white, could learn and thrive. But today, the education system is a disaster zone. In 2021, the progress in international reading literacy studies shocked the world. Over 80% of South African grade 4 learners cannot read for meaning in any language. More than half of the learners who started school drop out before writing matric. In rural areas like Mthatha, overcrowded classrooms sit with broken toilets and leaking roofs. In Gauteng, a scandal erupted when the provincial education department spent over 400 million rands on deep cleaning schools. But many classrooms remain dirty, without textbooks or desks. The government has allocated billions, but corruption and mismanagement have stolen hope from millions of children. The system is producing a generation unable to read, write, or count, undermining every promise of the Rainbow Nation.
It's a matter of choosing who to save or who not to save. It's not nice.
Health was meant to be a human right in the new South Africa. Yet, public clinics are overwhelmed, understaffed, and under-resourced. In 2016, the Life Esidimeni tragedy shocked the nation. 144 psychiatric patients died after being moved from government facilities to unlicensed NGOs. Families demanded justice. The government promised reform. But systematic failures continue. Hospitals like Tembisa were rocked by scandals, with irregular payments of over 850 million rands to ghost suppliers for medical equipment that never arrived. Meanwhile, patients queue for hours in unsafe conditions, only to be told the doctor is unavailable. The National Health Insurance Bill, touted as a fix-all solution, faces widespread criticism. Critics fear the collapse of an already fragile system. Without urgent reform, the public health sector's failure will cost more lives. Eskom was once Africa's pride, powering an economy on the rise. Now, it is the country's greatest liability. Load shedding began in 2007 as a temporary crisis, but the problem deepened. Corruption, mismanagement, and poor maintenance took their toll. By 2015, Eskom CEO Tediso Matona was suspended amid corruption allegations. 4 executives were fired in one day. Between 2019 and 2022, the government injected over 200 billion rands into Eskom. Yet, blackouts worsened, with stage 6 load shedding cutting power for up to 12 hours a day. Schools, hospitals, and businesses live in the dark. In 2023, Eskom CEO Andre de Ruyter resigned, publicly revealing the political interference and corruption that cripple Eskom's operation. Leaked recordings surface exposing how top officials demanded tenders be awarded to favored contractors, irrespective of their qualifications. The nation's lights dimmed and the blueprint for energy independence was stolen.
African unemployment rate has reached a new high as it rises for a third quarter in a row. The unemployment rate hit 33.5% in the second quarter of 2024. Unemployment is now at its highest since the government repealed COVID-19 rules in the second quarter of 2022. About 8.4 million people were out of work. This is up from 5.2 million in 2014. So unemployment rates in Africa has gone up by over 60% in the last 10 years. South Africa has not just the highest unemployment rate.
The economy was supposed to uplift millions, black entrepreneurs, workers, and families. Instead, unemployment reached 32.9%, with youth unemployment a staggering 63%. GDP growth has stalled since the 2010s, worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic and global shocks. In 2020, South Africa was downgraded to junk status by all three major rating agencies, increasing borrowing costs. State-owned enterprises, Transnet, South African Airways, Prasa, once national champions, became symbols of decay. The Zondo Commission revealed how billions were siphoned off through corrupt tenders during the state capture era. Every major infrastructure project stalled or failed, from rail to ports, robbing the economy of competitiveness and jobs. Meanwhile, thousands of young people queue daily for a handful of low-paying security jobs, highlighting a brutal reality. The blueprint for economic empowerment was hijacked by a corrupt elite.
Therefore, let me state the facts on the matter of whether I was approached by non-governmental individuals in respect of the position of Minister of Finance. Members of the Gupta family offered me the position of Minister of Finance to replace the then Minister Nene. I rejected this out of hand.
The blueprint was not broken by accident. It was systematically sabotaged. Figures like Ace Magashule, Musebenzi Zwane, and other ANC officials face corruption charges tied to the theft of public funds meant for development. The Gupta family's shadow loomed large. Their influence in cabinet appointments and tender allocation reshaped government into a personal cash machine. Municipalities across the country collapsed, with RDP houses built on unstable ground, sewage running through township streets, and basic services failing. Fake NGOs, tenderpreneurs, and politically connected businessmen prospered while millions suffered. The blueprint was hijacked, rewritten in the language of greed and entitlement.
The state believes it has a strong case against all 18 accused in the multi-million rand Free State asbestos corruption
case. The fraud case is scheduled to resume this week, with the accused continuing with their bail application.
Judge Nkosinathi Chili is still considering the application.
Yet, even in darkness, there is light. Organizations like Gift of the Givers provide relief where government fails. Community farming cooperatives in KwaZulu-Natal offer food security amid crisis. Legal groups such as Outer, AfriForum, and Corruption Watch fight for accountability and justice. But repairing this blueprint requires more than charity and courts. It demands a collective awakening of voters, leaders, and citizens willing to demand transparency, competence, and integrity. A broken blueprint can be redrawn, but only if we face the truth, no matter how painful. South Africa's blueprint was broken by design and neglect, but the pen now rests in our hands. The future is unwritten, and it is ours to shape. The question remains, will we rebuild, or will the blueprint remain broken? Thank you for watching South Africa Unveiled, exploring the stories shaping our nation.